Have you ever been on a project that just went off the rails? It starts out simple, but then it turns into this complete nightmare of add-ons, arguments, and watching your profit just disappear. Well, there's this simple document. A lot of people overlook it, but it's basically a secret weapon against all that chaos. Today, we're going to break down the scope of work, or SOW, and show you exactly how it can save your projects, your sanity, and, yes, your bottom line.
It all kicks off with 5 little words. Words that every single contractor, freelancer, or project manager has learned to absolutely dread. It's the sound of your nice, clean, simple project about to get really, really messy. It is the sound of scope creep.
Okay, picture this. You've given a client a quote to install 1 security camera. Simple. You show up, you've got your tools, you're ready to knock it out. And then the client comes over and says, "Oh, while you're here, can you just paint that pole the camera's going on? And hey, you think you could also trench through about 50 feet of concrete to run that wire?" All of a sudden, your simple one-day job has ballooned into a week-long construction project you never signed up for.
And that moment right there is a fork in the road. Without a scope of work, you're probably going to end up arguing with the client. Or worse, you just do the extra work for free and watch all your profit just evaporate. But if you have an SOW, it's a totally different conversation. You can just professionally point to the document and say, that's not included in our agreement, but I'd be happy to write up a quick change order for the additional cost. See the difference?
So what is this hero document I'm talking about? Well, it's the scope of work, or as you'll hear it called, the SOW. Think of it as the legally binding playbook for your project. It's what protects you by making sure everyone is on the exact same page, with crystal clear expectations right from the get-go. So at its heart, an SOW is a document that formally lays out the entire process of the work you're going to do. It spells out the activities, the deliverables, and the timeline. It's not just a shopping list of parts. It's more like a detailed map of the entire journey you and your client are about to take together. It makes sure you both end up at the same destination.
And this is a really crucial point, a quote or a bill of materials that tells the client what they are buying, the cameras, the cables, the hardware. But an SOW, that explains how you're going to deliver and install it all, the process, the labor, the logistics. One is the what, the other is the how, and you absolutely need both for a project to go smoothly.
Okay, so let's get into the good stuff. A really professional SOW isn't just some paragraph you dash off. Nope, it has a clear structure. We're going to break it down into 5 essential parts that together form the anatomy of a healthy, protected, and profitable project.
First up, Part 1, the executive summary. This is basically the why. It's a simple, non-technical paragraph that anyone, and I mean anyone, can understand. Something like, we're doing this to provide video surveillance of the rear loading dock, to deter theft, and to document vehicle license plates. See? It just sets the big picture goal before we dive into all the nitty-gritty details.
All right, next is Part 2, the scope itself, and let me tell you, this is where being specific is your absolute best friend. Install camera at back door is, well, it's terrible. It's so vague. What does that even mean? The good example over here, though, it leaves zero room for doubt. It lists the exact camera model, the height, the mount, the type of cable. That is clarity in action.
And a really great scope description breaks it down even further. So first, you define the exact hardware. Second, you specify all the mounting details. Third, you describe the entire path for the cabling, all the way from the server room to the camera. And fourth, you detail the final setup, like focusing the camera and setting it up. Every single step here just strips away any chance for misunderstanding.
Okay, moving on to Part 3, Project Assumptions. This section is all about the conditions, what you need from the client so you can actually do your job. Things like, we need free and clear access to the worksite during these specific hours, or we need 110-volt power available right here, or making sure their network switch actually has enough power and ports for the new gear. You're laying out the ground rules.
Now Part 4, Exclusions. This is your shield. This is your not me list. This is where you state with absolute clarity everything you are not going to be doing. This can include high-voltage electrical work, any painting or patching of walls, and paying for permits. This section, right here, is what single-handedly shuts down that dreaded, "can you just" conversation before it even starts.
And finally, we have the handover.
Part 5 defines what happens after all the physical work is done. This is where you'll spell out things like, we'll provide a 1-hour training session for your staff, or we'll provide as-built documents showing exactly how everything was installed. It clearly defines the finish line so everyone knows when your job is officially done.
But look, let's be realistic. Even with the best plan in the world, things can change. A client might change their mind, or maybe you uncover some unexpected surprise on site. The SOO doesn't stop change from happening. What it does is give you a professional, structured way to manage that change without it turning into a big fight.
So what actually triggers this process? Well, it could be anything, really. You open up a wall and bam, you find asbestos, which needs special handling. Or the client suddenly decides they want the camera moved 50 feet to the left after you've already run all the wires. These are what we call triggers because they fall way outside the original SOW.
When one of those triggers happens, you issue what's called a change order request, or a COR, and it's a really simple 3-step process. First, you document the requested change. Second, you calculate how it's going to impact the project's cost and the schedule. And third, you present it to the client so they can sign off on it. It's all transparent, it's professional, it's a negotiation, not an argument. And this brings us to what is, without a doubt, the single most important rule of managing project changes. I'm going to say it again because it is that critical. Do not do the extra work until that change order is signed. This is what protects you, your time, and your business from doing a bunch of work that's unapproved and ultimately unpaid.
So, when you boil it all down, the real power of a scope of work isn't hidden in some legal jargon or the fine print. Its power is actually in something much, much simpler.
A scope of work is not a document of mistrust. It's actually the foundation of a strong partnership. By defining the rules of the game right up front, you get rid of all the confusion and you create a shared understanding of what success looks like. It completely transforms the client relationship from a potential conflict into a real collaboration.
And that really just leaves us with one last thought. Whether we're talking about a multi-million-dollar installation, or a freelance web design project, or heck, even just planning a home renovation, clarity is everything. So think about it. What project in your life right now could be saved by taking just 15 minutes to write a simple scope of work?